Hey, what's happening? Jason Priester of the Clemson Insider alongside my compadre, Ashby Mixon. How you doing there tonight, Ashby?
JP, I'm doing awesome. How's your night going? What you up to?
I'm late. I'm very late here. Everything's off tonight. The intro was way off. We was late getting started. We are already off to a disastrous start here. So
JP, you know what they say? They say when you warm up really, really well, you play bad in the game. I think it goes opposite for us.
It can only go up from here. I just got finished. I just told you I just got finished eating at 6:45, and everything was off since then. Before we get started, I want to take a moment to thank our title sponsor, Trey Humphreys with Old River Real Estate. He's looking to expand his clientele by providing the best customer service in the industry. Residential, commercial, investing, buying, or selling. Trey would love the opportunity to help you. Just give him a call today, tomorrow, any day this week, 843-617-6548. Trey Humphreys with Old River Real Estate. Also, a shout out to Adams Termite and Pest Control. If you have problems or issues with those things there in the PD, give my man Mike a call. Adams Pest Control. Hey, we both called for the sweep this weekend, and that's exactly what happened.
They brought out the Brooms, second time already.
7-0. It's hard to. There's very little to be critical about at this point. It's certainly not been perfect, but man, it's hard to ask more from the pitching staff, especially when you factor in you haven't seen a guy like Jacob McGovern, and we're not going to see him. We'll get to that. Drew Titsworth just made his debut, limited pitch count. I think he threw like 40 pitches, maybe something in that neighborhood. Talon Bell only threw 3 innings. He's still on a pitch count, so to speak. He only threw 50 Sunday. And we haven't seen a guy like Harrison VC yet. I'm sure there's somebody I'm forgetting, but this pitching staff continues to get it done. I mean, the ERA, I think going into yesterday's game was 0.88. They gave up a couple of earned runs in the game yesterday, so it's up over 1 now. But it's actually 1.35. There's a lot to like about what we've seen from this pitching staff so far.
After what we've watched and what we've talked about in the last few years, I remember sitting here last year and talking about the pitching being an issue and the pitching depth specifically really being a struggle. And it's really interesting to sit here a year later and talk about pitching as your number one strength. That might be the quickest turnaround of any kind of position I've seen at Clemson in a long time.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of been the Achilles heel the past, of the first 3 years of the Bakich era. And sometimes, I get it. The portal's there. There's some immediate fixes there if you want to go that route. But if you listen to Bakich, he kind of prefers, to kind of build through the high school ranks, and they kind of want to build a program from the ground up. And if you're doing it that way, it takes a little bit of time, and it seems like we're starting to see some of the fruits of that labor with some of these freshman guys. We didn't see Dylan Harrison this weekend, but he's going to start tomorrow. Danny Nelson got his first career save over the weekend. That's a guy we talked about ever since we saw him in the fall. They've got, he kind of, I think he said he thought they had at least, I think he said the number, what did he say, 18, 19, 20 pitchers he thought they could rely on. And, I tended to believe that was a little bit on the optimistic side, and maybe it still is, especially when you consider, health for an entire season. But man, it's starting to look like he was on to something when he said this is going to be the deepest pitching staff we've had since I've been here.
Well, you talk about it a lot in football, especially, right? When you're talking about recruiting kids and you start talking to them when they're freshmen in high school and they're super young, and then you kind of get to see them and grow and commit and all of these kinds of things. You start monitoring it. And you're just now kind of getting to see Eric Bakic's guys that he has been pursuing since he got to Clemson. You know, you have the Jack Crichtons and the Jaron Purifies that he recruited when he was at Michigan. But this is kind of the first real batch all the way through of his Clemson guys. And I think you kind of get a clear picture of what he wants to build based on what he went after. And that's a lot of really solid pitchers that, you know, have high velo and some really gritty hitters. And you saw that in Fultz. You saw that in Eston Simpson in the last week and some of these freshman guys. So it's kind of cool to see kind of the full circle moment of what he values in recruiting.
Speaking of Fultz, he comes up the other night, bases loaded, or the other day, bases loaded, you know, in a big-time spot, and he's got the plate discipline of a veteran, of a junior or a senior, and he draws the walk. It's been pretty impressive, you know, what they've been able to do. We talked about the pitching, but, man, they're averaging a lot of runs per game too. It's not like it's all pitching and no hitting. They're hitting 345 as a team. They have scored, I just looked at it and I've already forgot, 52 runs in 7 games. That's pretty good. And here's the other one. They've hit 12 home runs already. 12 home runs.
Hallelujah.
10 of those are Savoy, McClatty, and Gerald. But you know what? They've hit 10 home runs after only hitting, I think, 78 or something like that last year. If they keep up at that clip, they're going to easily surpass that number.
And what I wanted to talk about, too, that I think is pretty interesting is you talk about pitching development, right? We've seen these pitchers grow from last year to this year. Talked about it last week with Deion Brown. But I'm looking at these guys in the lineup, and I think every single one of them is better right now than they were last year. I don't think you've seen anybody regress at this point. Look at a Tristan McClatty. Look at a Jacob Gerald. Look at a Luke Gaffney. These guys have all taken major steps up, and their issues from last year have not been as bad or really haven't been issues at all at any point so far in the Seattle season.
Yeah, you talk about Gerald. Last year he was kind of a all or nothing guy. It felt like he was going to hit a long ball or get out. That's kind of the way it felt, even though that wasn't the reality. He's hitting like 350 this year, starting off, you know. Yeah, 350 on the dot. He's got the 4 home runs. He's got a double.
By the way, 4 home runs already, 7 games from Jacob Gerald.
He's slugging 1,000. You know, pretty hot start for that guy. All right, we got a guest we're gonna bring on here for a few minutes. If you hang out on Twitter a lot, you've probably seen him. He's a big Clemson baseball guy. He streams his videos there on Twitch where you can get his reactions. So let's bring on Bendy. How's it going, Bendy?
I'm good.
We appreciate you joining us in here.
No problem.
Bendy, thank you for being here. We're big fans.
No problem. I appreciate you guys. Yep.
You were in Clemson opening weekend.
Yeah, I was.
Tell us a little bit about how it went, man. You don't get to you're from Virginia, right?
No, Maryland.
Maryland.
Yeah.
A little bit further north than Virginia. So you don't get to make it down here a whole lot.
No, I only went to last year. I only went to the Stanford series. So
what was it like?
I was very impressed with a lot of stuff, especially pitching wise. That's a thing that was struggled last year for sure. Towards the end of the season, ACC championship. So I was very impressed what I saw, just overall everyone. So
give us some of your impressions of this lineup, top to bottom. You know, and when you compare it to last year, do you think it's better, about the same, worse? How do you view it?
I think it's a lot better. Tristan McClatty has taken a lot of steps. Even Jack Crichton. You see Jacob Gerald in there. He does what he does, but he's already doing pretty well this year. We even adding Nate Savoy. I know Ty Daly hasn't done much, but he's just warming up. And just up and down the lineup, I'm great with everyone. I don't have an issue with any of them.
Bendy, I want to hear You're from Maryland. How did you become a Clemson fan? And specifically, how did you get into Clemson baseball?
So my dad went to Clemson, and he lived in South Carolina most of his life. So that's how I'm a Clemson fan. Clemson baseball, I'm just a huge baseball fan in general. I played when I was younger, and so I just always been a big baseball fan, and I'm a big Orioles fan, but even bigger Clemson baseball fan. So
You mentioned Jack Crichton. That's a guy that hasn't gotten a lot of publicity over the first 2 weekends.
Mm-hmm.
He's hitting 455. That's doing work, man, and nobody's even talking about that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack Crichton to me has been, like I was just saying, one of those guys that I think is kind of taking it to the next level. He's had great moments in his career here and there, but I think consistency has been an issue. He'll have a few good games here, and then he'll struggle a little bit, and it kind of feels like he's really settled in. What do you think about that, Bendy?
Yeah, I feel like he's a lot more consistent. Last year, you would have like he have a hit, and then like 10 days later, he'll have another one, or it's just not as consistent as it was.
All right, here's something I wanted to ask both of you about. Jaron Purify. Best in the leadoff spot or a couple of spots down, two, three, or somewhere else in the order? What do you say, Bendy?
I would say I like him at leadoff. I mean, he's fast. When he gets on the bases, he can steal. I mean, he can hit too. He can walk. Like, he's good at everything. I just like him at there, especially taking Cam's spot. It's a lot of responsibility, but I feel like just the lineup in general right now, I think should just stay the whole year. Or I don't think anything needs to be changed.
I agree with you, Bendy. I think you want somebody that's going to get on base, right? That's what made Dom Listy so special for this team last year, is he found a way to get on base. And a lot of times with Dom, that was, him getting hit by a pitch or him getting walked. And with JP, you're seeing him, actually get these leadoff hits, like a leadoff single, leadoff double. And I think that's awesome too. I think, talking about the lineup, I would like to see Gerald in the 4-hole personally.
Purify's already walked 6 times too. I mean, his own base percentage is 455. I saw people discussing that on Twitter today, so that's why I brought it up. I like Purify in the leadoff spot too. He seems to be the prototypical leadoff guy.
What do you guys think of the order of everybody? Kind of going off that, what do we think of McClatty, Nate Savoy, and then Lichtenberger and everybody down later in the lineup?
I'll let you go first, Bendy.
I mean, I haven't really even Bryce Clavon kind of surprised me. I know he didn't play much last year at Georgia, but 2 Superman catches in the outfield. I mean, he did miss one the other day, but it's okay. Lynch, I do see some more stuff producing from him, at least from the Bryant game. I mean, maybe Jacob at 4, but right now I don't have an issue with anything.
Yeah, I would kind of – it's hard to argue with the lineup all that much. I mean, you certainly couldn't criticize it if they moved Gerald up to into the 4-hole or the 5-hole. You got Gaffney there right now. I don't know if he's been there every day. I remember that's who was there yesterday. Tally. I think Tally started out, or Dally. I told you I was going to call him Tally about 40 times. I think Dally started out in the 4-hole originally, but there's a lot, Savoy's a guy that you could put there. There's a lot of guys you can put there, and they're going to drive in runs. But I think there's some interchangeable guys for sure. If you wanted to move Gerald up, I think that would certainly be all right. But, I like what you've got at the top in the 1 and the 2, and I like the 8 and the 9-hole. I like Lichtenberger there in the 8-hole, particularly if Clavon can kind of get it going there in that 9-hole and kind of set the top of the lineup up. It'll make it even more dangerous. All right, one last question here for you before we let you get out of here, man. Clemson's not been to Omaha since 2010. They finally kind of broke that super regional curse year before last and made an appearance in the Supers. What's the ceiling for this team, man? Does this team have what it takes to make it back to Omaha?
I mean, EB says don't talk about it, be about it. But I mean, I do have, if we play and we get hot at the right time, like EB always says, I think this is that town in Nebraska.
Before we let you go, Bendy, I want to ask you about your reaction to the Clemson women's game yesterday with the big win over Duke. I saw you fired up about it on Twitter.
Yeah, that was just crazy. I went to practice when I was down there, and a lot of them really do like each other, love each other, and not just on the court, off the court, and just I could see that when I was there, and it's just happy for them because I knew they were going to get a big win eventually because they kept getting better each game, and I could tell. So,
love it.
I had forgot that you went to basketball practice or women's basketball practice while you were there. You told me that when I saw you, but we actually had that game on in the press box yesterday, the last few minutes. I think that's the most women's basketball I've watched in the past, 5 years.
You're missing out.
Man, that was something, man. That ending was something. I thought they were done for when Duke hit that last three that they hit, man. But and even when they got, I thought, what's her name that hit the winning shot for Clemson?
Hannah
Cone. Yeah, I thought she had rushed it a little bit when she got it off. But man, she drilled that thing, man. Just ice water in her veins. Big win for Sean Poppy.
Huge, especially for NCAA. Tournament.
That ought to make them a tournament team now.
Yeah.
I would think so, assuming the bottom doesn't fall out between here and the end of the regular season. All right, Bendy, we very much appreciate you coming on here and making an appearance with us, man. Keep them reaction videos up, man. They are awesome, man. I love them.
I appreciate that. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Bendy. Man.
Yep. Have a good night.
What a legend. I love it.
I love watching his videos, man. He's so passionate. And he gets passionate. He doesn't get passionate about the 400-foot home run. He gets it's all of it, man. It's all of it. He loves it.
And it's not just football. It's not just baseball. It's everything. He is a through and through a true fan. So shout out Bendy. Great to see him.
Speaking of football, spring practice starts Wednesday. We got to talk baseball first, and I promise we'll get to the football here very shortly. But before we do, the big one's coming up this weekend. The South Carolina series. Those guys have kind of struggled a little bit coming out of the gate. They dropped one of their first games of the opening series to a non-Power 4 team. Then they dropped the game to Army Friday. The Fire Maneri stuff's already, just making its way across the internet waves. This might be a big series for Paul Maneri. Those guys, we've talked about some of the injuries Clemson has dealt with. They've had some injuries of their own. They lost their Friday night guy. I'm not as in tune with what's going on in Columbia, but I do remember they've lost their Friday night guy plus another pitcher, if I'm remembering right. They've had some share of struggles here to start the season.
Yeah, there's been a lot of struggles in Columbia over the last couple of years in this baseball program. And, the injuries are really, really unfortunate. You hate to see that from any team. But let me say this. At the end of the day, on paper, looks like this should be an easy Clemson sweep. However, I know the Tigers are going down to Columbia for 2 games.
For a neutral site game in Columbia.
Yes. Neutral site game 5 miles from campus. So this is not going to be easy because, like we know from other sports, it is a heated, intense, passionate rivalry that is going to provide some really good baseball, I think.
Yeah, those guys were picked to finish next to last in the SEC this year. Bakich has won 5 in a row in the series. He won the 2 games they played in 2023. One of them was canceled after it got, because of weather. They didn't ever make it up. And then Clemson won all 3 last year. If he can take 2 out of 3 this year or even better, sweep, if you sweep and run that thing up to 8 in a row, man, you're talking about a kind of streak that hasn't been seen in one of the sports since Clemson football won so many. What was it? 7 or 8, however many they won in a row, and then COVID interrupted it. And we haven't seen a streak like that. I think it was 7 in a row. We haven't seen a streak like that in quite some time in any of the sports.
You know what, JP? That's a really good point that I hadn't thought about. He has owned them since he's been at Clemson in the last few years. And I think it's really important not to focus on that, not to focus on, we own this team, we own this rivalry, but to look at it as one game at a time. It's also your first game on the road, right? And what a way to kind of start your road schedule going into Columbia against a team that is just desperate to beat you.
And
so
it'll be a night game too, 7 p.m.
Yeah, it's going to be intense.
Yeah, I wonder if Clemson just runs with the same exact rotation they've had. I mean, the first 2 weeks. It's hard. I mean, I don't know how you don't give Michael Sharman another shot. I know you probably want to end up getting Titsworth in there at some point. He's probably not quite ready to really start a game and go more than a couple 3 innings. But when the time comes and you decide you want to make a change, because after the game yesterday, Backus talked about wanting Bell and Titsworth both to be starters. How you do that without taking Sharman out? You talking about a guy that's arguably been your best starting pitcher over the first 2 weekends.
Well, let's talk about the Talon Bell of it all and the Drew Titsworth of it all, because I didn't think that we were going to get to see Drew Titsworth this past weekend. I thought they were just going to keep him in, maybe try to move him to next weekend. Do you think there's a chance that they make the change and let Titsworth be the Sunday starter, move Bell to the bullpen, or do you think it kind of stays like it is?
For this weekend?
Or just going forward?
Me and my buddy were just talking about that earlier. If things keep going the way they're going and you decide you want to put Titsworth into rotation, I think it's you probably put Bell in the bullpen just based off of production so far. That's not a knock on him. It's not like he's been terrible or anything. It's just been Sharman's just been that good. And you also have to decide whether you want 2 lefties in your starting weekend rotation, or would you rather have one of those left-handed arms in your bullpen? That's something else that kind of factors in, because Sharman and Bell are 2 of your left-handed pitchers, although I don't think Clemson was really lacking on left-handed guys. Not having McGovern's a lefty, right?
Yes, believe so.
Golly, I'm having a brain fart. I can't remember. I think he is. Yeah, I mean, you already lost one of those lefties if McGovern. I'm watching him pitch. I'm seeing him pitch left-handed. So yeah. So you've already lost one of your left-handed relievers, arguably your best most effective left-handed reliever. So you have to decide if you want to keep 2 starters in your rotation. But if I had to guess, if Titsworth moves into the rotation, just based on what we've seen so far, I think Bell's the one that comes out.
Michael Sharman in his last outing, 5 innings, gave up 2 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. It's just solid. It's just solid top to bottom. And watching him pitch, it doesn't seem like he has a lot of ups and downs. He seems pretty level and pretty steady. And I think that's what you want in a starting pitcher.
And he works fast.
Yep.
He's given up 1 run, 1 run on 3 hits in 11 innings. He's only walked 1 hitter. He did hit a guy on Saturday, I think it was. I think it was Saturday, but he's hit 1 at some point. But I mean, those are starting. That's the kind of numbers you want from your starter. And I mean, he's going deeper in games than Canuck is, and I get it. Canuck had to brush with the flu there before the season started. But this guy's giving you 2 quality starts in a row. Again, it's a small sample size. I get it. I understand that. But he went 6 innings in his debut, 5 innings again on Saturday. It's hard to ask for much more than that at this early stage of the season.
And what people aren't talking about with Michael Sharman is that he's a veteran guy. I think he's a 5th or 6th year. And he's played a lot of baseball in his time. He understands the game. He understands what his team needs at the time. And I don't think the moment's too big for him. I think with some of these underclassmen, maybe it kind of speeds up a little bit. And for him, it looks like, at least through 2 outings, it kind of slows down.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a 5th-year senior, if I'm not mistaken. So he's been around the block. He's pitched in the SEC. He didn't have a ton of time there at Tennessee, but he's done it. So far I like what I see from him, and I remember this is the first scrimmage I went and watched in the fall. I'm pretty sure this is the day you weren't there, but he was the guy that it was him and Talon Bell were the two starters, and Sharman just got lit up like in the very first inning. I think he gave up 6 runs on like 7 hits. I mean, and I'm not talking about C&I singles. I'm talking about balls that were walloped. And I remember somebody up there telling me, this is the first bad outing he's had all fall. I wouldn't even worry about it. And sure enough, he's just been steady Eddie.
That's the best way to describe him, 100%.
How you like Joe Allen as maybe the top closer? Because it's kind of looking that way.
Clutch. He has been so clutch. We were talking about it, I think last weekend, about how his kryptonite in the past has kind of been walking people, right? He gets to 2 outs, feels like he walks 1 or 2 guys, hits somebody with a pitch, something like that, before he finally concludes the game or concludes the inning. It's not been that way with Joe Allen. He has been lights out, and he also has been working very efficiently. That's the kind of guy you want as your closer. Another veteran that's seen a lot of baseball. He looks like he's really coming to his own to me. What do you think?
Yeah, it got a little scary there with him for a minute yesterday. And yesterday he did hit 3 guys. To Ashby's credit, she was covering the basketball game yesterday, so she didn't see the baseball game.
I was with Hannah Cohn at the time.
Clemson pitchers hit 7 batters yesterday. It was like one of these freak things, and I think it was the very first batter Allen faced. He hit him. And, yesterday was the one camera view, so there were no replays and stuff. I don't think the guy made an effort to get out of the way of the ball. I tried to ask Allen about it after the game. He wasn't really giving me anything. I don't pay no attention to that. But then he hit a couple more, and he had some runners on base. But going back to what you said in the past, that leads to his downfall. He doesn't last much longer. He's going to give up 2, 3, 4 runs last year under those circumstances. This time he finishes it off. I don't know how, I know that Clemson, or I don't know if the guy ever got up and started warming up, but I know one guy was told to get up and start warming up just in case the next guy reached, but he ended up getting out of it and picking up his first save of the season. But I thought that was big for him to kind of pitch around some of that stuff, man. But it was weird yesterday. I think every pitcher that pitched hit a guy maybe at least once, and Allen hit 3. Hold on. I think I got it right here. Oh, let's see. Oh, no, they don't put that in the box score, dude. Well, yeah.
Didn't walk anybody.
No, he did not walk anybody. And I remember the first guy that got hit was crowding the plate. One guy, his name's Zions. In the Bryant lineup, his last name was Zions. He got hit 3. He was hit 3 times. Zach Zions.
He is going to be sore on the way back to Rhode Island, let me tell you. Zach, wherever you are, Godspeed, my friend.
Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. I still got the stat broadcast pulled up, so I can tell you who. Talon Bell hit 2 batters. Titsworth hit a batter. Deion Brown hit a batter. And Joe Allen hit a batter. The only one that didn't hit somebody was Dvorsky. And he only pitched the one hitter. Got him out, and they went to Allen. So it was a weird day in that respect, because before yesterday, that had not been a problem, the hit by pitches. They had only hit 3 batters before yesterday all season. But, again, it was good to see him kind of work around some of that adversity.
So, JP, let me ask you this. When they were hitting people with pitches, was it on full counts? Were they 0-2? What was it looking like before then?
Oh God, I can't even. I can tell you this. I remember. I want to say the first one Allen hit, it was a 1-0 pitch. If I'm remembering right, it wasn't like it was deep into the count or anything. But man, when I'm out there taking my own pictures and doing the board and trying to write the gamer, I can't remember all that stuff.
How dare you? Not allowed.
So that one I can't really give you a good answer on. I apologize.
Overall, outside of that, which sounds like it was just kind of a freak thing, pitching's been really solid. I'm very, very encouraged about the pitching going forward. And, you know, you haven't faced the hitters that Georgia Tech has. You haven't faced the hitters that Florida State has. But still, you couldn't have asked for much better outside of, you know, giving poor Zach Zion's 72 bruises yesterday.
Yeah, he reminded me of Dominic Listy yesterday. We're getting hit by pitches, but yeah, I've been very encouraged by what I've seen from the pitching. It leads to a lot of optimism heading into this rivalry series this weekend. I get it. You got to beat PC tomorrow first. PC, that's the team you should handle with ease. They've been pretty bad. They've not been very good. They've given up a ton of runs. Dylan Harrison's actually going to start that game tomorrow, so we'll get to see him again. He did not pitch this weekend. That's a game you should take care of, but I am kind of anxious to see him, you know, playing against it's probably not one of the better SEC lineups, but it's a SEC lineup nonetheless, and see how some of these pitchers perform against better competition.
Do you think tomorrow could be an all-freshman affair on the mound for Clemson?
It would not shock me because, you know, I would assume we're going to see Eston Simpson at some point. Probably Brendan Bennett, who's not a true freshman, but I don't know if he probably didn't get a red shirt here. I imagine he could probably apply for a waiver.
I think he did.
Did he get one?
Mm-hmm.
So he would still be a freshman in my eyes. I mean, maybe it could very well be depending on how they perform, but I would think you want to, you know, keep everybody as fresh as possible, and he did get a red shirt here. You are correct. I don't think you want to bring out any no need to use guys like Joe Allen or Deion Brown or Justin LeGuernick or anybody like that tomorrow. You try to give the freshmen some opportunities and see if they can get it done.
Talking about freshmen, we alluded to him earlier, drawing that big bases loaded walk. What have you thought of Jason Foltz so far, and do you think he kind of took a step forward this weekend?
You know, we haven't seen a ton of him yet. With the way McClatty's playing, it's kind of hard, you know, to take him out and put Foltz in at third. We saw him let Bryce Clavon sit on Saturday. McClatty played center. That way you were able to get Foltz in there, but he's only had 10 at-bats. He's 2 of 10 so far, but, man, that walk that he drew Saturday late in that game with the bases loaded, I thought that was a great example of how polished of a player he is and the type of plate discipline he has. He wasn't up there hacking or trying to play hero and hit a grand slam there, because I can't remember if Clemson was up 1 or if it was still tied, but it was still a tight game. And that run was big at the time. So, I mean, from what we've seen, I've liked it. Now, he might even be the better defender over there at third base. But Tristan McClatty's hitting .385, and he's got 3 home runs.
That's what I was about to say.
That's a guy you can't sit down.
He has made it impossible to take him out of the game, Tristan McClatty. He's been clutch. He's been efficient. He's made smart plays. He looks like a different player than he did last year. And he's provided you with a spark on offense that you didn't have much at any point in the season last year outside of Cam Cannarella towards the end.
Yeah, he is absolutely big. He's come up in some clutch situations so far over the first 2 weeks. He's had a couple of big home runs. The one he had this weekend was a big one. He's showing that he'll go the opposite way with it when the situation calls for it. And he's not just it's not just home runs he's hitting. He's got a double or 2. But he's started the season. Golly, I'm looking at the wrong line. He's 10 of 26 3 home runs. He's got 1 double. So, I mean, that's not a bad start to the season. And he has stolen 2 bases already. So, I mean, he's kind of like Purify. He's going to create some chaos when he gets on base. He just can't get picked off. Like Jack Crichton got picked off at Saturday the other day. That's something that just can't happen.
That's been an issue. That was a little bit of an issue the first weekend as well. Cleveland got picked off at first the first weekend, I remember.
Yeah. It's one thing to get picked off at first, you get caught leaning or something, but man, when you get picked off at second, that cannot happen. I wouldn't expect Crichton to get caught like that again. You know, those are the kind of things you tend to learn from.
I think the biggest, if you're going to cite a weakness so far or an issue to improve on, I saw Coach Backage said this yesterday, it's the defense. It has not been as smooth as it was last year. I think a lot of that is new guys being implemented. You cannot give up 3 runs, unearned runs, when your pitchers only give up 2 hits in a game. You can't do that, especially against really good teams later in the season that are going to capitalize off of it.
I'm glad you brought that up because the very first sentence that I said when we jumped on here was when I said there wasn't a lot to be critical of. I was trying to segue into that. Now here, I forgot all about it. See there, you know, great minds and all that stuff.
How we roll.
1 second. All right.
You gave me intro music to talk about the bad defense.
Yeah, the defense. That is the one area that they got to get some stuff cleaned up. There's been some gaffes that weren't really, you know, technically errors in the scorebook, you know, like the pick off at second, getting picked off at first, McClatty throwing to the wrong base during the opening weekend. There's been a couple of things that haven't necessarily been called errors that probably, you know, well, let's just call them mistakes that have led, you know, to runs at times. We saw it Saturday. Every run Bryant had was unearned. I think, like you just said, they only had 2 hits. Clemson had 3 errors. I think it was. They had 7 errors going into yesterday, if I'm remembering that right. I remember I wrote a story about the errors. See, I can't even remember what I write anymore. They got 10 now. They've made 10 errors this season. They played 7 games. Yeah, that's something that you absolutely got to get cleaned up. And it's not just been one guy. You know, we saw Gaffney drop a pop-up yesterday, which meant that the win was absolutely brutal yesterday. That's one Purify or Dally and Wright probably should have called him off and come and got. I hate to put the blame for that on him. Purify made an error yesterday. I forget who else did.
Well, there was the Little League home run on, what was that, Friday?
That was Friday when the ball got by Clavon. It was windy that day too, and I still think he got a bad read off the ball. Beckett said he thought it had some top spin on it and was kind of funky coming through the air, but he just looked like he got a slow jump on. Those things are going to happen, particularly when it just happened to be that the guy that hit it could fly. I mean, he was motoring, come all the way around. But, yeah, you got to get some of that stuff cleaned up. I actually asked Beckett, you know, if because Clavon didn't play the next day, if he was just giving Clavon a day off or whatever, because he didn't have a really good day at the plate Friday coupled with that play. And he said it was just his turn to sit. You know, they don't have, you know, they got more than 9 guys they want to get in there, and it was just his turn. He was back out there yesterday, but that is definitely an area that they've got to get cleaned up some. And it's spread out through the entire or a lot of the infield. I don't want to say the entire. I think Lichtenberger's got an error already too. I take that back. He does not. He might be the only infielder that does it. Clavon's got 2. Purify's already been charged with 3. McClatty's got 2. Gaffney's got 2. And Savoy's got 1. I think his came at catcher the other day when he was playing catcher.
You've seen flashes of defensive excellence, right? Bendy pointed it out. Bryce Clavon had 2 Superman catches his first week. Nate Savoy with a huge throw to get somebody out at home to Jacob Jarrell, right? You've seen it. You know Jaron Purify is a really good second baseman. Tyler Lichtenberger was all Sun Belt last year defender. You know that that's going to come together. I would think it would. If I'm watching as a fan, I would much rather be dealing with that being your biggest issue than guys not being able to make contact with the ball or having crazy high strikeout numbers or the pitching staff walk 10 people a game. It is a fixable thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And another part of that is, and Bakich even touched on this Saturday, they've been getting the balls and kind of shrinking the field. It's more of errant throws. So those are definitely stuff that's definitely stuff you can get cleaned up. They've mostly gotten 2 balls. But yeah, I would expect the defense, particularly in the infield, to get better as we go along, as these guys get used to playing with each other. Because you got to, McCladdy's not been an everyday guy over at third base, hasn't played a ton of third base since he's been here. Lichtenberger's new, and when you got a new shortstop, that can, it might take a little while. It's kind of like the offensive line trying to gel. In football, you want your infield, and baseball to gel a little bit. To me, that's a maybe an apt analogy, but I think they'll get better over time.
People forget Andrew Chufo was a really, really good shortstop, really solid, and did a great job of anchoring that defense last year. So anytime you change that, it's going to be different.
I think Lichtenberger. I keep wanting to call him Lichtenberger. It's Lichtenberger. I think he's going to end up being a pretty good shortstop back there. He looks like he's got a lot of range.
Completely agree.
Thoughts on the new version of Luke Gaffney at the plate?
He looks more patient. He looks like he's not chopping at the ball. His swing looks better. And he's been clutch. That's the biggest thing. He's been one of the guys, along with McCladdy, along with Savoy, that's delivered the hit when you need it. And at times last year, it did not feel like he was going to be your go-to guy to do that. Had his first home run. Didn't he have a double this weekend?
He did.
He's been solid. But not only has he been solid, he's been one of your main offensive producers. And I think when Eric Bakich brought him in from Purdue 2 years ago, that was the intent back then. And you're seeing that come to fruition in these first couple weeks of the season.
He's hitting 500. He's slugging 708. His on-base percentage is 600. He's walked 6 times. He's driven in 7 runs. He's got 2 doubles. He's 12 of 24 on the season. All those things you just said. I'll add one more to it. His body language is so much different. He just looks like a guy that's got a lot more confidence than he did the final 2-3 weeks of last season. He's walking around. He's all teeth all the time because he's like you are right now, all teeth all the time, smiling wide. I mean, I think, I think we sometimes lose sight of the fact of exactly how much confidence factors into some things. And I think that was a guy that had lost all confidence last year, and getting off to a good start, I thought, was imperative for him. He's done it. But one of the biggest things, you mentioned it, it's his swing. He's talked about it. He spent a lot of time, trying to tweak his swing, and that work's paying off for sure, man. He's starting to look like the guy we expected him to be last year.
And credit to him, because it is really, really hard when you have not been playing like you think you should be for a season to turn around and take the work needed and get in there and come back with confidence and come back ready to play and come back with great body language after you had a rough end of your season. I have a lot of respect for how he handled himself and did what was necessary to be where he's at now.
In this era, it would have been so easy for him to hit the portal last year and just say, hey, I'm going to start over somewhere else. It just did not work out. You see Clemson bringing in guys like Nate Savoy, who's capable of actually playing first base. I think he played first base, in the past, at least a little bit. You already got Colin Priest there. you see them bringing in all these big bats, and it would have been easy to think, yeah, they're bringing in somebody to replace me. Let me just head on off somewhere else. But he didn't. He kind of stuck around, and it's again, it's paying off. The work he put in over the offseason is paying off.
Same with the Tristan McClatty, same with the Jack Crichton. And here they both are having their best start to the season.
Absolutely. All right, it's 7:50. I've been told that let's not talk about men's basketball. Let's not talk about men's basketball. They've lost 4 in a row now. What's going on with Brad Brownell's team?
The women are now higher in the net ratings than Brad Brownell's Tigers as of yesterday. Tough skid, really tough skid. And it all starts with the defense. Brownell said it. It's easy to see it. That team is not overpowering enough on offense in any way to win a shootout. The guards are not dynamic enough. And so it all starts with the defense. They've played so many games this year where they haven't allowed 40 points in the first half. Of the 4 games that they have allowed 40 points in the first half, they've lost all of them. Except for one double overtime win in Georgia. So when the defense is not excellent, like it was the first 2/3 of the season, it's really hard to beat a team like Florida State that just jacks up threes, especially when they're making them. I think you've seen that really catch up with them as of late.
Yeah, he said it today. The defense has been the common theme in the 4 losses is what he was asked about, and he said our defense has not been elite the way it was, and if we're gonna win more games like we need to get back to playing better defense. He also talked a little bit about the shot making and the guards. They had some good looks in that game Saturday. They just didn't knock them down. Mm-hmm. Outside of Dylan Hunter knocked down a few, but Justin Porter's struggling. Butta Johnson's hitting one here and there, but he's not really consistent. I wonder how different this team would be if Zach Foster doesn't get hurt.
Exactly what I was going to bring up, because one of the first things I just said was they're not overwhelming or overpowering on offense. Zach Foster is. Zach Foster has the build. He's the archetype of an NBA player. He is that kind of guy that can overwhelm you on offense. And, he had freshman moments before he got hurt, but that is a guy that you are really, really, really missing. I think a backcourt next year with him or Ace Buckner and this freshman they have coming up and Zach Foster is going to alleviate some of that. But that has hurt him for sure. They don't have that one dynamic scorer, and Foster could have been that for him. I get it. He's only a freshman, but he could have been that. I thought that the energy actually, and I don't think people want to hear this after the 4th loss in a row.
No.
The energy was better against Florida State. It was. Energy was better. Morale seemed better. At the end of the day, they just could not knock down enough shots or limit Florida State. But in the Virginia Tech loss and the Wake Forest loss, it felt like they were a little bit lethargic at times. I did not see that on Saturday.
Yeah, I thought they had the energy. It was especially Saturday. Yeah, I didn't think that was a problem. I'm not sure how close Carter Whelan is to 100% after the sprained ankle he had. I think it was against Virginia Tech, but sounds like they got some guys that are banged up a little bit. But they need to win a couple more down the stretch for sure. Didn't they get Louisville at home Saturday? Louisville's 3-5 on the road this year.
That would be a big win. I think you got to win. You got Louisville, UNC, and Georgia Tech left. How many of those do you think they got to win to be secure, booked their spot to the tournament, JP?
I don't know. At least a couple. We're gonna have to cut this short. I got a text. We got to cut this short right back here. Next Monday, 7 p.m. See y'all then.